Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to take you on a journey beyond the physical world you think is real. I am going to show you a dimension that exists right now, in this very moment, where every version of your life already exists in perfect completion. This dimension is not somewhere far away. It is not in some distant galaxy or alternate universe. It is here now, accessible to you this very instant. And once you learn to enter this dimension and operate from it, manifestation becomes not just possible but inevitable and instantaneous. I call this dimension the 5D world, the dimension of infinite possibilities. And tonight you will learn not only that it exists, but how to consciously enter it, navigate it, and bring back from it anything you desire into your physical reality. But I must warn you, what I am about to teach you will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality, time, space, and your own power as a conscious creator. Are you ready to leave behind the limitations of the 3D world and step into the infinite? Then let us begin. Now, before we can understand the 5D world, you must first understand the prison that most people live in without even knowing it. This prison has 3 dimensions, and it is so convincing, so seemingly solid, that billions of people never even question its walls. The first dimension is the dimension of physical form. This is the world of matter, of solid objects, of bodies and buildings, and all the things you can touch with your hands. Most people believe this is the only real dimension, that what you can see and touch is all that exists. The second dimension is the dimension of linear time. In this dimension, time moves in only one direction, from past through present to future. You believe you are trapped in this timeline, that yesterday is gone forever and tomorrow has not yet arrived. You believe you must wait for things to happen, that change takes time, that your past determines your future. The third dimension is the dimension of apparent causation. In this dimension, things seem to happen because of external causes. You are poor because of the economy. You are sick because of genetics. You are alone because you have not met the right person. Everything appears to be caused by something outside of you. These 3 dimensions together create what I call the 3D world. And in the 3D world, you are powerless. You are a victim of circumstances. You are subject to the laws of physics, the passage of time, and the actions of other people. You are trapped, limited, and struggling. But here is the truth that will set you free. The 3D world is not the primary reality. It is the shadow, the reflection, the effect. It is what appears when you do not know about the higher dimensions. Now, between the 3D world of physical limitation and the 5D world of infinite possibility lies a bridge. This bridge is what I call the 4D world, the dimension of imagination. In the 4D world, you are no longer bound by physical form. You can be anywhere, be anyone, have anything in an instant. In your imagination, you can be wealthy. You can be loved. You can experience any version of reality you choose. Most people visit the 4D world constantly, but they dismiss it as just imagination, as fantasy, as unreal. They think that their nighttime dreams and their daydreams are meaningless, that only the solid 3D world is real. But I tell you, the 4D world is more real than the 3D world, because the 4D world is where creation happens. Everything that exists in the 3D world was first created in the 4D world of imagination. The chair you sit in, the building you occupy, the house you live in, all of it existed first as imagination before it became physical form. Someone imagined it, and then the 3D world materialized it. But here is what most people do not understand. The 4D world is not just a place to daydream. It is the creative workshop where you can consciously design your reality before it appears in the 3D world. When you learn to use the 4D world intentionally, when you understand that your imagination is not fantasy but the actual mechanism of creation, you begin to have power over your 3D circumstances. But even the 4D world is not the ultimate reality. Beyond the 4D world of imagination lies something far more profound, far more powerful. This is the 5D world, the dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously in eternal completion. The 5D world is unlike anything you have experienced in the 3D or 4D realms. In the 5D world, there is no time. There is no space. There is no becoming, only being. There is no future to wait for, no past to regret. There is only the eternal now where all things already are. In the 5D world, every possible version of your life exists right now. The wealthy version of you is there. The healthy version of you is there. The loved, successful, fulfilled version of you is there. Not as potential, not as possibility, but as already accomplished reality. Think of the 5D world like a vast library containing every book that could ever be written. Every story, every outcome, every version of your life is a book on the shelf, complete and finished. You are not writing these books. They already exist. Your job is simply to select which book you will read, which reality you will experience. In the 3D world, you believe you must create your desires, that you must work to bring them into existence. In the 4D world, you use imagination to design what you want. But in the 5D world, you simply recognize that what you desire already exists in perfect completion, and you claim it as your reality. This is the great secret. You are not creating anything. You are selecting from infinite pre-existing possibilities. You are not manifesting. You are choosing which already manifested reality you will experience. And when you understand this, when you can consciously enter the 5D world and operate from it, manifestation becomes instant. Because you are not waiting for something to be created. You are simply claiming what already is. Let me explain to you the mechanics of the 5D world, because understanding how it works is essential to using it. In the 5D world, everything exists as pure consciousness, pure potentiality, pure being. There is no form yet, no manifestation in the physical sense, but there is complete and total reality at the level of consciousness. Imagine a radio dial with infinite stations, each station broadcasting a different reality. The reality where you are wealthy is one station. The reality where you are poor is another station. The reality where you are healthy, loved, successful. Each is its own station, all broadcasting simultaneously. In the 3D world, you can only hear one station at a time, the one you are currently tuned to. And because you only hear one station, you believe that is the only reality that exists. But in the 5D world, all stations are broadcasting right now. All realities exist simultaneously. The question is not which reality will come into existence. The question is which reality will you tune into. Your consciousness is the dial. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your habitual thoughts and feelings determine which station you are tuned to. And whichever station you tune to in the 5D world, that is what appears in your 3D experience. Most people are tuned to the station of their current circumstances. They see poverty, so they stay tuned to the poverty station. They experience loneliness, so they remain tuned to the loneliness station. They do not realize they can change the station at any moment. But when you become conscious of the 5D world, when you understand that you can choose which reality to tune into, everything changes. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the conscious selector of your reality. So how do you actually enter the 5D world? How do you access this dimension where all possibilities exist? The answer is both simple and profound. You enter the 5D world through the doorway of assumption. When you assume something is already true, when you claim a reality as already existing, you are operating from the 5D world. Let me be very specific about how this works. First, you must identify which reality you wish to experience. Not what you want to create, but which already existing reality you wish to claim. Do you wish to experience the reality where you are wealthy, where you are loved, where you are healthy? Second, you must recognize that this reality already exists in the 5D world. It is not something you need to make happen. It is not something you need to manifest. It already is. The wealthy you already exists. The loved you already exists. These are not future possibilities. They are present realities in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Third, you must claim this reality as yours. Not through effort, not through trying to bring it to you, but through simple assumption. You assume this is your reality. You take it as a given fact. You accept it as already true. This assumption is the key that unlocks the door to the 5D world. When you truly assume something is yours, when you claim an already existing reality, you shift your consciousness to that frequency, to that station. And once you are tuned to that station in the 5D world, It must appear in your 3D experience. But here's where most people fail. They try to assume while still identifying with their 3D circumstances. They try to claim the wealthy reality while still seeing themselves as poor. They try to tune to the love station while still feeling lonely. You cannot be in two places at once. You cannot be tuned to two stations simultaneously. You must completely shift your identification from the 3D reality you are experiencing to the 5D reality you are claiming. This brings us to the most important practice, learning to live from the 5D world rather than from the 3D world. Living from the 3D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on what you currently see in your physical reality. You look at your bank account and think poor thoughts. You notice your empty bed and feel lonely. You check the mirror and think sick thoughts. You are living from the 3D evidence. Living from the 5D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on the reality you have claimed in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Regardless of what the 3D world shows you, you think, feel, and act from the reality you have selected in the 5D world. When you live from the 5D world, your bank account may show lack, but you think from wealth. Your current circumstances may show loneliness, but you feel from love. Your body may show symptoms, but you identify with the health that already exists in the 5D reality you have claimed. This is not denial. This is not pretending. This is recognizing that the 3D world is showing you yesterday's reality, the old station you were tuned to. But you have now tuned to a new station in the 5D world, and you are waiting for the 3D world to catch up and reflect this new reality. Let me give you a practical example. A man came to me who wanted to experience financial abundance. He had been trying to manifest money for years with no success. He visualized, he affirmed, he worked techniques. Nothing changed. I said to him, stop trying to manifest money. Instead, recognize that in the 5D world, the reality where you are abundantly wealthy already exists right now. Your job is not to create this reality. Your job is to claim it and live from it. I taught him to spend time each day consciously entering the 5D world in his imagination. He would close his eyes and recognize in the infinite dimension of possibilities, there exists a version of me who is abundantly wealthy. That version is as real as any other version. And I now claim that version as my reality. Then throughout his day, whenever his 3D circumstances tried to pull him back into the consciousness of lack, he would remember, I am living from the 5D reality of abundance. What I see in 3D is old news, yesterday's reflection. My new reality is already established in the 5D world and is now making its way into my 3D experience. Within 3 months, money came to him in ways he never expected. Not because he manifested it, but because he tuned into the station where he was already wealthy, and the 3D world reflected this new frequency. One of the most powerful aspects of the 5D world is that time does not exist there. In the 5D dimension, everything exists in the eternal now. Past, present, and future are simultaneous. This means that what you call your future already exists in the 5D world. The life you will be living 5 years from now already exists. Right now in the dimension of infinite possibilities. You are not creating your future. Your future already exists. You are simply selecting which future you will experience. This is why I teach that you can collapse time. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, you are not waiting for it to be created and then appear in your future. You are claiming something that already exists, and the 3D world simply updates to reflect this reality. And the speed at which a 5D reality appears in your 3D experience depends on the intensity and consistency of your assumption. The more completely you live from the 5D reality you have claimed, the faster the 3D world conforms. But understand this, the moment you claim a reality in the 5D world, it is done, it is finished, it is already yours. The appearance in 3D is simply a matter of the denser, slower dimension catching up with the higher, faster dimension. You think of it like watching a video. When you select a video to watch, the entire video already exists on the tape. But your screen can only display it frame by frame, moment by moment. You are not creating the video as you watch it. The video is already complete. You are simply experiencing it in sequence. The same is true for your life. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, the entire reality already exists complete and finished. Your 3D experience is simply playing it out frame by frame, moment by moment. But it is already done the instant you claim it. Here is something profound to understand about the 5D world. Infinite versions of you already exist there. There is a version of you who is wealthy, a version who is poor, a version who is healthy, a version who is sick, a version who is loved, a version who is alone. All of these versions are real. All of them exist right now in the 5D world. The question is not which version will come into existence. The question is which version are you identifying with? Most people identify with the version of themselves that matches their current 3D circumstances. If they are poor in 3D, they identify with the poor version of themselves. If they are sick in 3D, they identify with the sick version. But you have the power to shift your identification at any moment. You can stop identifying with the version of you that matches your current circumstances and start identifying with the version of you that you wish to experience. When you identify with a new version of yourself in the 5D world, you literally become that version. Your consciousness shifts to that frequency. And when your consciousness shifts, your 3D experience must shift to match it. This is not about becoming someone you are not. This is about recognizing that all versions of you already exist and choosing which one you will be. Let me share with you the ultimate truth about this dimension of infinite possibilities. The truth that makes all of this not just possible but inevitable. This dimension is not somewhere else. It is not a place you travel to. This realm of infinite possibilities is what you are. You are not in this dimension. You are this dimension expressing as individual consciousness. All the infinite possibilities that exist here exist within you. You are the library containing every book. You are the radio containing every station. You are the consciousness in which all realities exist. When you claim a reality from this infinite dimension, you are not reaching outside yourself to grab something. You are recognizing what already exists within you and choosing to experience it. This is why assumption works. This is why consciousness creates reality. This is why you are the operant power. Because you are not a small being trying to manipulate a vast external universe. You are the infinite consciousness in which the entire universe exists, choosing which aspect of your infinite self you will experience. The 3D world is your self-expression. The 4D world is your creative workshop. This infinite dimension is your infinite being, and you have access to all three dimensions at all times. So what does it mean to live as an infinite being? It means you stop being a victim of 3D circumstances. It means you stop struggling to manifest in the 4D imagination. It means you recognize that everything already exists in this dimension of infinite possibilities, and your only job is to claim which reality you will experience. Living from infinite consciousness means you wake up each day knowing that today's reality is not imposed upon you. You are selecting it from infinite possibilities. Living from this awareness means you meet challenges not with fear, but with the knowledge that in this dimension the solution already exists. Living as infinite consciousness means you never ask, can this happen? But only, which version of this do I choose to experience? This is your invitation. This is your birthright. This is the truth of what you are. You are not a 3D body struggling through time. You are not even a 4D imagination creating your world. You are infinite being, temporarily focused through the lens of individuality, selecting which of your infinite possibilities you will experience. Enter this dimension. Claim your reality. Live from infinite possibilities. And watch as your 3D world becomes a perfect reflection of the magnificent reality you have claimed from the dimension where everything already exists in perfect completion. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. You know, I've been teaching this law for many years now. And in all that time, I've watched thousands of you come to these meetings, notebooks in hand, eager to learn the secrets of manifestation. And do you know what I see happening? You're making it so complicated, so unnecessarily difficult. You're buried under techniques, drowning in methods, paralyzed by rules you think you must follow perfectly, or everything will fail. And all the while the answer, the simple, beautiful, elegant answer, is staring you right in the face, but you can't see it, because you're too busy searching for something more complex. So tonight, I'm going to strip everything away, all the techniques, all the methods, all the elaborate practices. And I'm going to give you the raw truth, the one principle that makes everything else irrelevant. And I promise you, when you finally hear it, I mean really hear it, let it sink into your bones, you're going to laugh. Because it's so simple, so obvious, so absurdly beautifully simple that you'll wonder how you ever missed it. Assume it's done. That's it. That is the law. Not a technique, not a method, not a formula. The law itself. Now, before you dismiss this as too simple, before you think, but wait, I already know that. Let me ask you something. If you really knew it, if you truly understood it, would you still be here searching for the perfect technique? Would you still be asking me which method works fastest? Would you still be worried about whether you're doing your visualizations correctly? No, you wouldn't. Because when you really grasp this, when it clicks so deeply that you can't unknow it, everything changes. Every technique becomes optional. Every method becomes flexible. Every rigid rule dissolves. You become free. But most of you aren't free yet. And tonight, I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you the trap you've fallen into. The mistake that's keeping you from the simple, effortless manifestation that should be your natural state. And then I'm going to give you the key to walk out of that trap forever. So please, put down your notebooks for a moment. Stop trying to memorize. Stop analyzing. Just listen, because what I'm about to tell you could save you years, perhaps decades of unnecessary struggle. Let me show you where most of you are stuck right now. You come to these meetings searching for the perfect method, the right technique, the secret formula that will finally make everything work. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand. We've all been there. But here's what you're missing. And please listen carefully, because this will save you years of unnecessary struggle. The technique is never the cause. Your consciousness is the cause. Your consciousness, your assumption is the only cause. Always. Now, over the years, I've taught you many techniques. The state akin to sleep, revision, the thankful heart, living in the end, mental diets. And some of you have taken these techniques and made them into rigid rules. You've turned them into superstitions. I have to loop exactly 3 times, Neville. It only works if I do it at bedtime, right? What if I use the wrong words? Will it still work? No, no, no. You've missed the point entirely. These techniques, SATs, revision, scripting, affirmations, all of them, they're just different doors into the same room. Think of it this way. Imagine a beautiful room. Inside that room is the state of your wish fulfilled. That's where your desire already exists, perfectly formed, waiting for you. Now there are many doors into this room. The SATs door, the revision door, the affirmation door, the scripting door, different doors. But they all lead to the exact same room. And they work when they work, because they successfully accomplish one thing and one thing only. They shift your assumption. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. SATs works not because there's magic in visualizing before sleep. It works because when done correctly, it shifts you into the state of the wish fulfilled. It gets you into that room. Revision works not because you're changing the past. You're not. The past is gone. Revision works because changing how you remember events changes your present assumption about yourself and your world. Affirmations work not because words have power in themselves. They work when and only when they shift your consciousness from the state of wanting to the state of having. Do you see? The technique is the vehicle. The assumption is the destination. And you, most of you, you're so fixated on the vehicle that you've forgotten where you're trying to go. Let me tell you what I see happening. And please, don't be offended. I'm telling you this because I care about your success. You come to these teachings and you collect techniques like someone collecting stamps. Oh, I know sats. I know revision. I know mental diet. I know ladder technique. And then you use them desperately, anxiously hoping one of them will work. You do your sats at night, but while you're doing it, you're thinking, please work. Please let this work. I need this to manifest. What if it doesn't work? Do you see what you're doing? You're using the technique, but you're not in the state. You're not assuming it's done. You're assuming it's not done and hoping the technique will make it done. And because assumption is the only reality, because what you assume must become fact, your assumption of it's not done is what manifests. Not the scene you're visualizing, the state you're actually occupying. Then when nothing happens, what do? You blame the technique. SATS doesn't work for me. Maybe I need something stronger. Maybe I need a different method. No, the technique didn't fail you. You failed to understand what the technique is for. The technique is not the power. You are the power. Your consciousness is the power. Your assumption is the creative force. The technique is just a tool to help you shift your assumption. But if you're using the tool while maintaining the old assumption, the tool can't do anything for you. And then, oh, this breaks my heart when I see it. Then you become rigid, superstitious. You turn these simple practices into elaborate rituals. I must loop exactly 3 times. It only works at bedtime. I have to use these exact words. I have to be lying down. I can't move once I start. And on and on and on with the rules. You've taken a simple principle, assume it's done, and you've buried it under a mountain of superstition. Let me tell you something. I've manifested things while walking down the street, while sitting in a chair, while standing in line at the grocery store. Why? Because I understood that the technique doesn't matter. The state matters. If I can assume it's done, if I can feel it real, if I can occupy that state completely, it will manifest. Period. I don't need perfect conditions. I don't need the right time of day. I don't need to follow a rigid formula. I just need to assume it's done and mean it. And then there are those of you who technique hop. You try SATs for a week. Nothing happens, so you move to revision. You try revision for a few days. Nothing, so you switch to scripting. Scripting doesn't work fast enough, so you try affirmations. Affirmations feel ineffective, so you go back to SATs. But this time you add a new element you read about. Always searching. Always looking for something more powerful. Something that works faster. Something easier. And you know what the tragedy is? You already have everything you need. You don't need a more advanced technique. You don't need a secret method I haven't told you about yet. You need to stop searching for new doors and walk through the one in front of you. Because they all, every single one of them, lead to the same place. A shifted assumption. Pick one. Any one. Master it by understanding what it's actually doing. Shifting your assumption, and you'll never need another. Now here's what saddens me most. In all your searching, in all your technique collecting, in all your rigid rule following and desperate trying, you miss the beautiful simplicity I've been pointing to all along. Assume it's done. That is the law. Not a technique. Not a method. The law itself. Consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. What you assume to be true becomes true. That's it. That's the entire teaching. Everything else, every technique, every method, every practice I've ever shared is just a different way of helping you do one thing. Shift your assumption from I want it to I have it. From hoping to knowing. From desiring to possessing. From wanting to being. When you truly understand this, when it clicks so deeply that you can't unknow it, everything changes. You stop being enslaved by techniques. You stop worrying about doing them perfectly. You stop searching for the right one, because you finally understand the technique doesn't create. Consciousness creates, and you are consciousness. Let me tell you what happens when this understanding really takes hold. You become free, completely free, free from rigidity. You are no longer bound by rules about exactly how the technique must be performed. You understand that the form doesn't matter, the assumption matters. So you can do your imaginal act sitting in a chair if you want. You can visualize while walking. You can impress your subconscious at noon instead of bedtime. You can loop once or 10 times or not loop at all. Why? Because you know it's not the technique that's creating. It's your assumption. And you can shift your assumption anywhere, anytime, however works best for you in that moment. Free from superstition. You're no longer afraid that missing a night of practice will ruin everything. You're no longer worried that you didn't use the exact right words. You know that consciousness is the only reality. And as long as you're maintaining the assumption of the wish fulfilled, as long as you're in that state, manifestation is inevitable. The particular vehicle you use to get into that state doesn't matter. Free from dependency on methods. This is the big one. When you truly understand that assumption is the law, you realize you don't actually need techniques at all. Oh, they're helpful. They're useful. They make the process easier, especially when you're learning. But you're not dependent on them. You're not helpless without them, because you can shift your assumption right now. This instant, without closing your eyes, without lying down, without any formal practice at all. How? By simply deciding it's done. I accept it as done in consciousness right now. And if you can truly make that assumption, if you can embody that state fully, it will manifest. Guaranteed. The technique was never necessary. It was just training wheels. And now you can ride the bike on your own. And here's how you know when you've really grasped this. You stop asking, which technique should I use? Which one is most powerful? Which one will work fastest? And you start asking, what am I assuming right now? And is that assumption aligned with my desire? That shift in question changes everything, because now you're focused on the right thing. Not the method, the state, not the vehicle, the destination, not the technique, the consciousness. You're checking your assumption throughout the day. Am I assuming I have it, or am I assuming I want it? Am I in the state of the wish fulfilled, or am I in the state of hoping it will be fulfilled? And when you catch yourself in the wrong assumption, you don't panic. You don't think, oh no, I'm ruining everything. You just shift, gently, naturally. Oh, I was assuming lack. Let me return to the assumption of having. And you do. And you continue. And the manifestation continues forming. This is mastery. Not using the perfect technique, but maintaining the perfect assumption. Now, some of you are still thinking, but I want to learn more advanced techniques. I want the secret methods you haven't shared yet. And I'm telling you as plainly as I can, you don't need more advanced methods. You need a deeper understanding of the one law behind all methods. There is no secret technique I'm holding back. There's no advanced formula that will suddenly make everything easy. There's only this. Consciousness is the only reality. And assumptions harden into facts. Assume it's done. That's the law. That's the whole law. That's the only law. Grasp that principle, really grasp it, deep in your being, and every technique becomes yours to use or not use with full confidence and conviction. You can use SATs if you like. It works beautifully when you understand what it's actually doing. You can use revision if that resonates with you. It's a powerful tool for shifting assumptions about your past and therefore your present. You can affirm, you can script, you can visualize, you can live in the end. Or you can do none of them. Because you understand that the technique is not the power. You are the power. The method doesn't create. Your assumption creates. And the instant you assume it's done, truly assume it, not hope it, not want it, but know it's done in consciousness. In that instant, it begins to harden into fact in your world. Here's how you'll know if you've really understood tonight's message. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you won't immediately think, what technique should I do today? How many times should I loop my scene? What's the best method for this desire? Instead, you'll ask yourself, what am I assuming about this situation? Am I assuming it's done, or am I assuming it's still pending? And if you're assuming it's pending, you'll shift. Right there. No technique required. You'll just change your assumption. It's done. I accept it as finished in consciousness. And you'll feel the shift, the relief, the certainty, the peace of knowing. And you'll move through your day from that assumption, not from a technique you performed, but from a state you're occupying. That's when you'll know. You've got it. You've understood. You've moved beyond techniques to the principle behind them all. So this is my gift to you tonight. This understanding. Use the techniques if they help you. I've given them to you because they work. They're effective tools for shifting consciousness. But don't worship them. Don't become enslaved by them. Don't think they're the power. You are the power. Your consciousness is the creative force of your entire world. And all you have to do, the only thing you've ever had to do, is assume your desire is fulfilled. Not hope it will be fulfilled. Not work toward it being fulfilled. Not try to make it be fulfilled. Assume it is fulfilled. Now, already, done. That's it. That's the law. Everything else I've ever taught you is just different ways of helping you do that one simple thing. So tonight when you go home, you can do your sats if you like. Or you can revise your day. Or you can write in your journal from the end. Or you can repeat your affirmation. But while you're doing it, remember the technique is not creating your reality. Your assumption is, and if you can assume it's done, if you can really feel it done, know it's done, accept it as done in consciousness. You don't need the technique at all. You're already in the state. You're already in that room. The door you came through doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you're there, in the state of the wish fulfilled. And from that state, manifestation is not a maybe. It's not a hope. It's not a wish. It's a law. Assume it's done. That is the law. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to address something that I see destroying more manifestations than doubt, more dreams than fear, and more possibilities than disbelief combined. It is the desperate, anxious, violent energy of forcing. Perhaps you are listening to me now, and you feel a certain weariness, a spiritual exhaustion. You have done everything I have taught you to do. You have affirmed, you have visualized, you have walked in the assumption of your wish fulfilled as best you know how. And yet your desire remains at a distance. Perhaps it even feels further away now than when you first began. Maybe it is money that seems to slip through your fingers no matter how tightly you grasp. A relationship that refuses to blossom, no matter how hard you chase. A career that feels stuck, no matter how desperately you push. You chase, and it flees. You push, and it resists. You tighten your grip, and it dissolves like smoke between your fingers. What if I told you that the very effort you are applying is the only thing standing in your way? That the immense energy you are using to force your desire into being is the very reason it has not yet arrived. Tonight we will explore this delicate and most powerful art, the art of allowing. I will show you why letting go is not the same as giving up, but is in fact the highest form of faith. And I will teach you what to do instead of forcing, to finally let what you desire come to you as effortlessly and naturally as the sun rises in the morning. To understand why your intense effort may be failing you, you must first understand a strange and wonderful paradox that I have taught for years. When your will and your imagination are in conflict, your imagination will always win. The harder you try to consciously force a state with your will, while your imagination is convinced of its opposite, the more you amplify the very state you are trying to escape. Think of it like this. Imagine you are holding a cork underwater. The more you push it down, the more you feel its powerful urge to rise. The pressure builds, your effort increases, and the moment you release even slightly, it shoots to the surface with tremendous force. Your feeling of lack, your deep-seated belief that you do not have your desire, that is the cork. Your frantic effort is the force holding it down, constantly reminding you of its buoyancy, of its reality in your world. Let me tell you about a woman who came to me last year. She had been trying to manifest a specific amount of money for 6 months. Every day she visualized. Every night she affirmed. Every moment she tried to feel wealthy. But the money did not come. In fact, her financial situation was getting worse. Neville, she said, I'm doing everything you teach. I'm visualizing constantly. I'm affirming all day long. I'm forcing myself to feel abundant even when my bank account is empty. Why isn't it working? I watched her as she spoke, and I could see the tension in her body, hear the strain in her voice, feel the desperate energy radiating from her. She was like a coiled spring, wound so tight she was about to break. I said to her, my dear, you are not feeling abundant. You are forcing yourself to pretend you feel abundant. And there is a universe of difference between the two. Every time you force yourself to feel wealthy while your entire being screams, I am poor, you are actually reinforcing your poverty. You are broadcasting the frequency of lack with every strained affirmation. She looked confused. So I explained. You must understand that every feeling you entertain radiates a specific frequency. It is a broadcast. The frequency of lack is charged with anxiety, impatience, and the frantic energy of need. The frequency of fulfillment is one of peace, satisfaction, and quiet gratitude. Your effort, born of strain and force, is simply a prolonged broadcast of the frequency of lack. Think of the biblical story of Peter attempting to walk upon the water. As long as his attention was fixed upon his goal, upon the Master, he did the impossible. He defied the laws of the physical world. But the moment he looked away, the moment he saw the winds and the waves, the facts of his three-dimensional reality, doubt entered his mind. He began to sink. And in that moment of fear, he began to try. He began to force himself to stay afloat, to fight against the evidence of his senses. And the more he struggled against the storm, the faster he sank. His success came from a state of calm assumption. His failure came from a state of effort born of fear. That story is your story. Your desire is the Master calling to you. The winds and the waves are the doubts and contradictory facts of your current life. To struggle with them, to force against them, is to sink. Forcing is an admission to yourself that you are not in the state of the wish fulfilled. For if you truly were the person who had your desire, would you be struggling to obtain it? Would you be fighting for it? Would you be anxiously checking for signs of its arrival? No. You would be at peace. You would feel a quiet confidence. The feeling would be natural, effortless, as simple as breathing. So you see, the goal is not to try harder. The goal is to feel it differently. To feel it as normal, as simple, as natural as the air you breathe. So then, how does one cultivate this feeling of naturalness? How does one move from the violent energy of forcing to the quiet confidence of allowing? It is not accomplished by a grand single action, but by a series of subtle internal shifts. Let me share them with you now. The first shift is from getting to being. Your true work is not to acquire the thing you desire. It is to become, in imagination, the person who already has it. If you desire wealth, you do not spend your day anxiously chasing money, desperately trying to force abundance into your life. Instead, you ask yourself, what would my inner conversations be like if I were already wealthy? How would I see the world? What assumptions would I hold as true? How would I move through my day? Then you begin to think from that state. You are no longer a poor person wanting wealth. You are a wealthy person simply living your life. The difference is subtle but profound. I remember a businessman who came to me struggling with this exact issue. He had been trying to manifest a major business deal for months. Every day he visualized the contract signing. Every night he affirmed his success. But the deal kept slipping away. I asked him, when you visualize this deal, what are you feeling? He said, honestly, I feel desperate. I need this deal. Without it, my business might fail. So I'm forcing myself to see it happening. Forcing myself to believe it will work out. There is your problem, I told him. You are visualizing from the state of a desperate man who needs a deal to survive. But a successful businessman who has closed major deals before does not feel desperate. He feels confident, calm, assured. You must become that man in your imagination, not try to force that man into existence through strain and effort. I taught him to stop visualizing the moment of getting the deal, and instead to simply assume he was already the kind of businessman for whom such deals were natural and normal. To think from success rather than about success. Within 3 weeks, not only did that deal close, but 2 other unexpected opportunities appeared. He had stopped forcing and started allowing by becoming the person who naturally attracted such success. The second shift is understanding what it truly means to live in the end. Many of you have been taught that living in the end means constant, effortful visualization. It does not. Living in the end is a state of satisfaction. Think of how you feel after a wonderful meal. You do not continue to stare at the menu anxiously, hoping for food to arrive. You do not force yourself to feel full while your stomach is empty. You are satisfied. You are at peace. The meal is finished. That quiet satisfaction, that inner knowing that it is done, That is the true feeling of the wish fulfilled. Your imaginal act, your brief scene, implying your desire is fulfilled. That is the meal. And satisfaction is the state you must carry throughout your day. I knew a woman who wanted to marry a particular man. For months she visualized their wedding over and over again, multiple times per day, forcing herself to see every detail, straining to make it feel real. But he showed no signs of proposing. In fact, their relationship seemed to be growing more distant. When she came to me, I asked her, "After you finish visualizing your wedding, how do you feel?" She said, "I feel anxious that it hasn't happened yet. I feel worried that I'm not doing it right. I feel desperate to do it again to make sure it works." I explained to her that these feelings were the problem. You are treating your imaginal act like a task you must perform perfectly and repeatedly. But the imaginal act is meant to produce a feeling of satisfaction, the feeling that it is already done. Once you have felt that satisfaction, you should be able to rest in it like a person who has eaten a good meal. I taught her to do her imaginal scene once, at night before sleep, and then to simply carry the satisfied feeling throughout her day, to feel like a woman who was already engaged, already loved, already claimed, not to force this feeling, but to gently assume it as her natural state. Within 2 months he proposed. She had stopped forcing the outcome and started allowing it by resting in the satisfaction of the wish fulfilled. The third shift is discovering the secret of present moment fulfillment. All desperation springs from the feeling that something is missing now. The remedy is to feel fulfillment in this moment, even before your desire appears in physical form. This does not mean denying that you want something. It means finding fulfillment in your present moment so that you are not desperately grasping for the future to be different. At the end of each day, find one thing, anything, for which you can feel genuine gratitude. The kind word someone spoke, a moment of beauty you witnessed, the comfort of your bed, the warmth of the sun on your face. By practicing the feeling of gratitude, you are practicing the feeling of fulfillment. And when you can find fulfillment in your present moment, you release the desperate need for the future to be different. In that release, the future is suddenly free to become what you have imagined. I remember a man who was desperately trying to manifest healing in his body. He was sick, in pain, and growing more anxious by the day. Every visualization of health was tainted with the desperate energy of "I must get well or I will suffer forever." I taught him to find one thing each day for which he was genuinely grateful. Perhaps a moment when the pain lessened, or the kindness of a nurse, or the beauty of clouds outside his window. This practice gradually shifted him from the frequency of desperate lack to the frequency of grateful fulfillment. As he learned to feel fulfillment in his present moments, the desperate grasping for future health dissolved. And in that dissolution, his body began to heal in ways that surprised even his doctors. He had allowed healing by releasing the force of desperation. The fourth shift is building a mental sanctuary. This is a short, simple, imaginal scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Not the moment of receiving it, but a moment after. A moment that would only exist if your desire were already a fact. If you desire marriage, your scene could be as simple as feeling the weight of a wedding ring on your finger while washing your hands. If you desire career success, it could be a brief congratulatory conversation with a friend who says, "I always knew you would do it." This scene is your anchor. When the storms of doubt arise in your day, you do not fight the doubt. Fighting doubt only gives it more power. Instead, you simply retreat to your mental sanctuary for a few seconds, feel it real, and return to your day with faith restored. This is not forcing. This is gently reminding yourself of the truth you have chosen to live from. Now, a word of caution to keep you from undoing all your good work. First, you must resist the impulse to anxiously look for your desire in your outer world. Every time you check for proof with anxiety in your heart, you are performing a powerful imaginal act of doubt. You are impressing upon your subconscious the feeling that it is not here yet. And your subconscious, unfailingly loyal, accepts that feeling as your new command and creates more experiences of not here yet. Think of a baker who has placed a cake in the oven. He has done his part. He mixed the ingredients, poured the batter, set the temperature. Now he must trust the process. He does not open the oven door every 2 minutes to see if it has risen. To do so would let out the heat and ruin the cake. Your sustained assumption, your faith, is the heat that bakes your desire into reality. Once you have placed it in the oven of your imagination, you must leave the door closed. You must trust the process. I knew a woman who was manifesting a new home. She did her imaginal act beautifully. She felt herself in the home, walking through the rooms, feeling the satisfaction of ownership. But every day she would anxiously check real estate listings, desperately searching for signs that her home was coming. Each time she searched with anxiety, she was impressing her subconscious with lack rather than fulfillment. I told her, "You are baking a cake and opening the oven door every 5 minutes. You must trust that the process is working. Check listings if you feel inspired to do so, from a state of calm curiosity, but never from desperate anxiety." She learned to do her imaginal act at night, feel the satisfaction, and then go about her day without anxiously checking. Within a month, the perfect home appeared through an unexpected connection, not through her anxious searching. Second, do not discuss your desire with those who are not in sympathy with your aim. Your imaginal act is a tender new creation, a new state of consciousness. Exposing it to the cold winds of doubt and ridicule can chill your conviction, causing you to doubt your own creation. Keep your secret. Let it grow strong within you until it is ready to be born as a fact in your world. So what does this state of true allowing, of genuine detachment, actually feel like? Let me be clear. It is not apathy. It is not indifference. It is not giving up on your desire. In fact, it is the highest and most potent form of faith. It is the calm assurance of the farmer who has planted a seed in good soil. He does not fret. He does not dig it up each day to check if it is growing. He simply knows he has done his part, and the law of growth will do the rest. It is the feeling of having ordered a fine meal at a wonderful restaurant. You do not follow the waiter into the kitchen to make sure the chef is cooking. You simply relax at your table, enjoying the ambience, knowing that in due time your order will be served. It is the same assurance with which you know the sun will rise tomorrow. You do not wake each night in fear, wondering if the dawn will come. You simply know it will, and so you rest. In like manner, you must rest in the certainty of your desire fulfilled. Remember what I have taught you. Creation is finished. Everything that could ever exist already exists in the infinite realm of imagination. What you seek is not something you must create or force into being. It already is. You need only to accept it, to claim it, to assume it as yours. This state is a quiet inner peace, a release of all tension. You can think of your desire and you feel a gentle warmth, a quiet smile, not the anxious, desperate yearning of still wanting it, but the pleasant, familiar feeling of knowing it is already yours. Let me tell you about a final example that perfectly illustrates this state. A young artist came to me who had been desperately trying to manifest recognition for his work. He forced himself to paint every day. He anxiously submitted to every gallery. He checked his email constantly for responses. He was exhausted. His work was suffering, and success seemed further away than ever. I said to him, "You are chasing recognition like a hunter chasing a deer through the forest. The more violently you pursue, the faster it flees. You must become like a fragrant flower standing still in the garden, effortlessly drawing what you desire to you." I taught him to stop forcing his art, and instead to simply be an artist who was already recognized and valued, to create from that state of confidence rather than desperation, to submit his work when inspired, not when anxious, to rest in the assumption that recognition was already his in consciousness, whether or not it had appeared in form. The shift was remarkable. His art became more authentic, more powerful, because it was no longer tainted with the desperate energy of needing validation. Within 6 months, a major gallery discovered his work and offered him a solo exhibition. But by that time, he no longer desperately needed the recognition. He had already claimed it in consciousness, and the external recognition was simply the shadow following the substance. He had moved from being the frantic hunter to becoming the fragrant flower. He had stopped forcing and started allowing. This is the promise of allowing. This is the secret of letting it come. When you reach this state, you have moved from desperate grasping to magnetic attraction. You do not chase, you simply attract. You do not force, you simply allow. You do not struggle. You simply rest in the knowledge that it is done. Your desire is not somewhere in the future, waiting for you to work hard enough to deserve it. It exists right now in the dimension of imagination, and you claim it by assuming the feeling of already having it, not by forcing that feeling, but by gently, naturally, persistently dwelling in it until it becomes as natural as breathing. So tonight, I want you to examine your relationship with your desires. Are you forcing? Are you struggling? Are you desperately trying to make something happen through sheer effort and strain? If so, I invite you to release that grip. Let go of the cork and watch it rise to the surface effortlessly. Plant your seed and trust the law of growth. Order your meal and relax while it is prepared. Assume your desire is already yours in consciousness, and rest in that assumption with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the sun will rise tomorrow. Stop forcing it. Let it come. For in the letting go, you will find that what you have been chasing has been waiting all along for you to simply stop running and allow it to catch up to you. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and you are the operant power in your world. I'll see you in the next video.
Hello and welcome back to the series. In the previous episode, you've learned that wealth exists in consciousness first, and that there's a parallel reality where you're already abundantly wealthy. Now comes the most crucial question. How do you actually access that wealth and bring it into your lived experience? The answer lies in understanding and applying the law of assumption, the most powerful principle for deliberately creating your financial reality. This isn't just another manifestation technique. This is the fundamental law that governs how consciousness creates form. Most people approach wealth creation from a state of hoping, wishing, or wanting. They hope they'll get a raise, wish they could afford their dream house, or want to become financially free someday. While these desires aren't wrong, they actually reinforce the very lack they're trying to overcome. Here's why. When you hope, wish, or want something, you're unconsciously affirming that you don't currently have it. You're operating from a consciousness of lack, and the law of assumption responds by creating more experiences of lacking what you desire. An assumption is completely different from hope or desire. An assumption is a mental state you accept as true, regardless of current evidence to the contrary. When you assume something, you're not hoping it will happen. You're accepting that it's already true in consciousness, and therefore must eventually manifest in experience. Let's look at the practical difference. Hoping, wishing, wanting consciousness sounds like this. I hope I'll be wealthy someday. I wish I could afford that. I want to be financially free. Maybe if I work hard enough, I'll try to manifest money. Assumption consciousness sounds like this. I am wealthy. Money flows to me naturally. Financial abundance is my normal state. Of course, I can afford what I desire. Wealth is simply who I am. Feel the difference between these two states. Hope and wishing carry an energy of separation and lack. Assumption carries an energy of certainty and possession. The power of an assumption lies not in its repetition, but in your conviction. A single assumption, held with complete conviction, will manifest faster than 1,000 affirmations spoken without real belief. Conviction isn't something you work up to. It's something you choose. You can choose to be as convinced of your wealth as you are of your own name. The only difference is that you've had more practice assuming your name than assuming your wealth. This distinction is so important that it deserves its own section. Most people are trapped in wanting money consciousness, not realizing that this very wanting is what keeps money away from them. When you want money, you're unconsciously affirming several limiting beliefs. I don't have enough money. Money is separate from me. I am in a state of lack. My wealth depends on external circumstances. The universe, or the law of assumption, is always saying yes to your dominant consciousness. When your dominant consciousness is I want money, the universe says yes, by giving you more experiences of wanting money, not experiences of having money. This is why people can spend years trying to manifest money without significant results. They're manifesting perfectly. They're just manifesting the experience of wanting money rather than the experience of having it. Being wealthy is an entirely different consciousness. When you assume the state of being wealthy, you feel abundant regardless of your current bank balance. You make decisions from wealth consciousness. You expect money to flow to you naturally. You're generous because you know abundance is infinite. You feel worthy of prosperity and success. This isn't about pretending or acting. This is about recognizing that wealth is fundamentally a state of consciousness, not a bank balance. When you consistently occupy the consciousness of wealth, your bank balance must eventually match your consciousness. The shift from wanting money to being wealthy is fundamentally an identity shift. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who needs to get wealthy, you see yourself as someone who is wealthy. You're just waiting for the external world to catch up with your inner reality. This identity shift changes everything. Your thoughts change. Instead of thinking, how can I get money? You think, how shall I use my abundance? Your feelings change. Instead of anxiety about money, you feel secure and provided for. Your actions change. You make decisions from abundance rather than scarcity. Your relationships change. People respond to your wealth consciousness. Your opportunities change. You notice and attract wealth-building possibilities. Now let's explore the mechanics of how assumptions actually create your financial reality. Understanding this process removes the mystery from wealth creation and gives you precise control over your financial future. Your assumptions about money create a continuous feedback loop that shapes your financial experience. First comes assumption. You hold a deep belief about money, conscious or unconscious. This influences your perception. The assumption filters what you notice and ignore in your environment. This changes your emotion. The perception generates emotions that match the belief. These emotions drive actions that align with your emotional state. Your actions create results that confirm the original assumption. You get reinforcement. The results strengthen the assumption, continuing the cycle. Let's see how this works with both limiting and empowering assumptions. Limiting assumption cycle. Assumption, money is hard to come by. Perception, you notice obstacles, problems, and evidence of financial difficulty. Emotion, you feel stressed, worried, and insecure about money. Action, you make decisions from fear, work harder for less, avoid risks. Results, you struggle financially, money feels difficult to earn. Reinforcement, see, I was right. Money is hard to come by. Now let's see an empowering assumption cycle. Assumption, money flows to me easily. Perception, you notice opportunities, resources, and evidence of abundance. Emotion, you feel confident, expectant, and secure about money. Action, you make decisions from abundance. Take inspired action. Embrace opportunities. Results, money comes to you through various channels with apparent ease. Reinforcement, of course, money does flow to me easily. The law of assumption responds to persistence, not intensity. A moderate assumption held consistently will manifest more reliably than an intense assumption held sporadically. This is why it's better to assume a state of general abundance throughout your day than to do intense visualization sessions once in a while. Your continuous background assumptions are far more powerful than your peak manifestation moments. Think of it like training a muscle. Consistent, moderate exercise over time builds more strength than occasional intense workouts. Similarly, consistent wealth consciousness builds more manifesting power than sporadic bursts of positive thinking. One of the most important principles to understand is that assumptions are more powerful than circumstances. Your current financial circumstances are the result of your past assumptions. Your current assumptions are creating your future circumstances. This means you never need to wait for circumstances to change before you can assume wealth. In fact, waiting for circumstances to change keeps you trapped in the old assumption that created those circumstances in the first place. Instead, you assume wealth consciousness now, regardless of current circumstances, and allow the circumstances to change in response to your new assumption. Most people are trapped in limitation consciousness when it comes to money. This consciousness operates like a self-perpetuating system that keeps them financially stuck, despite their best efforts to change their situation. Before you can change your assumptions, you need to identify what they currently are. Many of your most powerful assumptions about money operate unconsciously, so this requires some detective work. Here's how to identify your current money assumptions. Look at your results. Your current financial situation is a perfect reflection of your dominant money assumptions. If you're struggling, you have assumptions about struggle. If you're comfortable but not wealthy, you have assumptions about limitation. Notice your emotional responses. Pay attention to how you feel when you think about money. Do you feel anxious, excited, guilty, worthy, afraid, confident? Your emotions reveal your assumptions. Observe your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself about money? I can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. I have to work hard for money. These phrases reveal limiting assumptions. Watch your reactions. How do you react when you see expensive things? When bills arrive? When others talk about money? When opportunities arise? Your reactions reveal your assumptions. Here are some of the most common limiting assumptions that keep people financially stuck. Number 1, scarcity assumptions. There's not enough money to go around. If I have more, someone else has less. Money is limited and scarce. I have to compete for financial resources. Number 2, unworthiness assumptions. I don't deserve to be wealthy. Wealth is for other people, not me. I'm not smart, talented, lucky enough to be rich. Good people don't focus on money. Number 3, difficulty assumptions. Money is the root of all evil. You have to work hard for every dollar. Making money requires sacrifice. Wealth comes at the expense of happiness, relationships, or health. Number 4, identity assumptions. I'm just not a money person. I come from a poor family, so I'll always struggle. Creative or spiritual people aren't good with money. I'm destined to be middle class. Breaking free from limitation consciousness isn't about fighting your limiting beliefs. It's about replacing them with empowering assumptions. Here's the process. Step 1. Clearly identify the specific assumption that's creating your financial limitation. Step 2. For every limiting assumption, create its empowering opposite. For example, money is scarce. Money is abundant and infinite. I don't deserve wealth. I deserve unlimited abundance. Money is hard to earn. Money flows to me effortlessly. I'm bad with money. I'm naturally wealthy and abundant. Step 3. Embody the new assumption. Don't just think the new assumption, embody it. Feel what it would be like if this assumption were absolutely true. How would you feel? How would you move through the world? Step 4. Live from the new assumption. Make decisions, take actions, and respond to situations from your new assumption rather than your old one. This is where the real change happens. Step 5. Persist despite evidence. Continue to embody your new assumption even when external circumstances seem to contradict it. Remember, circumstances are following consciousness, not leading it. When you change your fundamental assumptions about money, you set in motion what Neville Goddard called a bridge of incidents, a series of events, encounters, and opportunities that will lead to the manifestation of your new assumption. These incidents might seem natural and logical in retrospect, but they're actually the universe reorganizing itself to match your new consciousness. Your job is to maintain your new assumption regardless of what appears to be happening. Stay alert to opportunities that align with your wealth consciousness. Take inspired action when opportunities present themselves. And trust the process even when you can't see the full picture. An assumption becomes fact through a process called hardening. When you first adopt a new assumption, it might feel soft or tentative. But as you persist with it, it gradually hardens into unshakable conviction. And once it hardens, it must manifest as fact in your experience. The hardening process happens through repetition, consistently returning to your wealth assumption, emotionally embodying the assumption until it feels natural, making decisions from the assumption until it becomes automatic, and persistence, maintaining the assumption despite contradictory appearances. As we conclude this chapter, it's time for you to consciously choose your new wealth assumption. This isn't just an intellectual exercise. This is you literally choosing your financial future. Here are some powerful wealth assumptions to consider. I am wealthy and abundant in all areas of my life. Money flows to me easily from multiple sources. I am worthy of unlimited financial abundance. Wealth is my natural state of being. I effortlessly attract opportunities for financial growth. Money is my friend and ally. I am financially free and secure. abundance is my birthright. Choose the assumption that resonates most deeply with you, or create your own. The specific words matter less than your conviction in the assumption. Starting now, your practice is simple but profound. Choose your wealth assumption and write it down. Feel into the assumption several times throughout each day. Make decisions from the assumption rather than from your circumstances. Persist with the assumption regardless of what appears to be happening. Expect evidence of your assumption to show up in your experience. Remember, an assumption, though it may seem false based on current circumstances, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Your wealth assumption isn't wishful thinking. It's the most practical thing you can do to create lasting financial abundance. The law of assumption is not a theory. It's the fundamental principle by which consciousness creates reality. When you truly understand and apply this law to your wealth creation, you'll discover that becoming wealthy isn't about changing your external circumstances. It's about changing your internal assumptions. Your wealthy self already exists in consciousness. Your wealth assumption is how you claim that reality and bring it into your lived experience.
Good evening, my cherished friends. Tonight I want to share with you the one quality, the single most important feeling that separates those who successfully manifest their desires from those who struggle endlessly despite knowing all the techniques, all the methods, all the so-called secrets. That quality is naturalness. Not excitement, not desperation, not even faith in the traditional sense. Naturalness. When I speak of naturalness, I'm referring to that quality of feeling completely normal about your desire being fulfilled. It's the difference between a man who has just won the lottery, jumping, screaming, unable to believe his good fortune, and a man who has been wealthy for 20 years, who handles prosperity with the same ease you handle breathing. One consciousness shouts, "Can you believe this is happening to me?" The other consciousness whispers, "Of course, this is who I am." The first man is experiencing his desire. The second man is being his desire. And it's the second man whose wealth will remain and multiply, while the first man's winnings will likely slip through his fingers within a few years. Why? Because naturalness is the signature of permanence. What feels natural to you must manifest and must remain. What feels unnatural, miraculous, or surprising will slip away as soon as the excitement fades. I learned this principle many years ago through a simple observation. I watched how people related to different aspects of their lives. And I noticed something fascinating. Everyone has some area of their life where they feel completely natural, completely at ease. For some it's their health. For others it's their relationships. For still others it's their creativity or intelligence. Whatever area feels natural to you, where you don't question it, don't worry about it, don't feel you need to prove it, that area remains stable in your life. You don't wake up each morning wondering if you'll still be intelligent. You don't check throughout the day to make sure you're still creative. You simply are these things, and because you are them naturally, they persist effortlessly. But notice the areas of your life where you struggle, where things feel like constant effort, where you experience lack or limitation. In these areas you lack naturalness. You're trying to be something rather than naturally being it. You're working to have something rather than naturally having it. A woman once approached me after a lecture in Los Angeles. She was impeccably dressed, clearly well educated, articulate. "Mr. Goddard," she said, "I can manifest small things easily. Parking spaces, chance encounters, minor synchronicities. But the big things, the things I really want, a truly fulfilling relationship, financial freedom, my dream career, these elude me no matter how much I imagine them. Why?" I studied her for a moment, then asked a simple question. "When you imagine a parking space, how do you feel?" She looked confused by the question. "I don't know, I expect it to be there, it's no big deal." "Exactly," I said. "And when you imagine your dream relationship or financial freedom?" Her entire demeanor changed. Her eyes widened, her breath quickened slightly. "I feel excited," she said. "Sometimes almost too excited to contain it. My heart races. I think this would be so amazing. This would change everything." I studied her for a moment. then asked a simple question. When you imagine a parking space, how do you feel? She looked confused by the question. I don't know. I expect it to be there. It's no big deal. Exactly, I said. And when you imagine your dream relationship or financial freedom, her entire demeanor changed. Her eyes widened, her breath quickened slightly. I feel excited, she said. Sometimes almost too excited to contain it. My heart races. I think this would be so amazing. This would change everything. There, I told her, is your answer. You manifest parking spaces because they feel natural to you. You don't manifest your larger desires because they feel unnatural, extraordinary, almost unbelievable. Your excitement itself betrays your disbelief. She was silent for a long moment. Are you saying I shouldn't be excited about my desires? I'm saying excitement is fine when your desire first appears to you. But if you're still excited about it after weeks or months of imagining it, you haven't made it natural yet. You're still treating it as something special, something outside your normal experience, something that would be amazing if it happened. And that very attitude keeps it from happening. This conversation reveals one of the most misunderstood aspects of manifestation. People think passion, excitement, and intense emotion are the keys to manifesting. They work themselves into ecstatic states, they feel overwhelming desire, they generate tremendous emotional intensity. And then they wonder why their desires don't manifest. The truth is this: intense emotion can help you identify what you want, but naturalness is what allows you to have it. Excitement says, this would be wonderful if it happened. Naturalness says, of course this is mine. What else would it be? Let me illustrate this with a story that demonstrates the power of naturalness perfectly. A young man came to study with me, desperate to become a successful writer. He had talent, certainly. He had dedication. He wrote every day, imagined his success every night, visualized his name on bestseller lists, felt the joy of critical acclaim. But month after month, year after year, rejection letters piled up. His work was never quite good enough. Publishers weren't interested. Agents didn't respond. One day, in frustration, he said to me, Neville, I've done everything you teach. I imagine my success constantly. I feel it deeply. Why doesn't it manifest? Tell me, I said. How does a successful writer feel to you? His eyes lit up. Accomplished, validated, finally proven. It would feel like I've made it, like all my struggles were worth it, like I stopped him. That's your problem right there. You're imagining being a successful writer as something that would prove you, validate you, elevate you. To you, being a successful writer is special, extraordinary, a transformation of who you currently are. But it would be, he protested. And that's why it isn't, I replied. Tell me, how do you feel about your ability to read? He looked puzzled. I don't understand. I read. It's natural. I've been reading since I was a child. Exactly. You don't imagine being able to read as special or extraordinary. You don't wake up excited that you can read. You don't feel you need to prove you can read. You simply read naturally because it's who you are. That's the feeling you need about being a successful writer. I could see him struggling with this concept. But how can I feel natural about something I'm not yet? Oh, I said, there's your second problem. You believe you're not yet a successful writer. But in consciousness, the only reality, you can be a successful writer right now. Not trying to become one, not hoping to be one, but being one naturally as you're currently a reader. I gave him a specific practice. For the next month, I told him, stop imagining your success as a future event. Stop feeling excited about what it will be like when you make it. Instead, assume you've been a successful writer for years. Imagine the ordinariness of it. Imagine checking your book sales the way you currently check your email, routinely, without drama. Imagine interviews and book signings as just part of your normal working life. Make success feel boring, natural, taken for granted. He looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. Make success feel boring. Not boring in a negative sense. I clarified. Natural. The way breathing is natural. The way your heartbeat is natural. The way your ability to read is natural. Success should feel so normal to you that it would be strange not to have it. This young man took my advice seriously. Over the next months, I watched a subtle but profound transformation occur in him. He stopped talking about his dreams with breathless excitement. He stopped imagining success as this miraculous future event. Instead, he began to carry himself as someone for whom success was simply normal. His writing improved, not because he tried harder, but because he wrote from a different consciousness. He submitted his work differently, not desperately hoping for acceptance, but naturally expecting it. He spoke about his writing career differently, not as a dream he was chasing, but as a reality he was living. Within 6 months, he had his first book deal. Within 2 years, he had 3 published books and a growing readership. But here's what fascinated me. By the time his success manifested physically, he wasn't surprised or excited. He felt it was natural, obvious, exactly what should be happening. That's how you know naturalness has been achieved, when the manifestation feels inevitable rather than miraculous. But how do you cultivate this feeling of naturalness? How do you make the extraordinary feel ordinary? How do you take something you desperately want and make it feel like something you simply have? First, you must understand that naturalness comes from familiarity. Things feel natural when they're familiar, when you've experienced them often, when they're part of your regular existence. This is why I teach people to imagine their desire fulfilled, not once, not in one glorious imaginal act, but repeatedly until it becomes familiar. Imagine it so many times that it becomes boring. Imagine it so consistently that it loses its charge, its excitement, its special quality. When you first imagine your desire fulfilled, it's thrilling. Your heart races. Every detail seems precious and meaningful. This is natural. You're encountering something new in consciousness. But if you persist, if you imagine this same scene night after night, something remarkable happens. The thrill fades. The excitement diminishes. The scene becomes familiar, routine, ordinary. And this is exactly what you want. When your desire feels ordinary in imagination, it's ready to become ordinary in manifestation. A businessman once told me about his experience with this principle. He wanted to expand his small company into a major enterprise, but whenever he imagined this expansion, he felt overwhelmed with excitement and barely contained nervousness. It feels too big, he told me, too impossible. Every time I imagine owning a major company, I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. I instructed him to imagine not the moment of expansion, not the drama of growth, but simply the ordinary, day-to-day experience of being the owner of a large company. Imagine the routine of it, I said. Imagine answering emails, attending meetings, making decisions, all from the consciousness of someone for whom running a major company is perfectly normal. At first he found this difficult. His mind wanted the drama, the excitement, the specialness of success. But I insisted, make it boring, make it routine. Imagine it until you could do it in your sleep. He followed this practice faithfully. Night after night, he imagined the ordinary activities of running a major company. Gradually, what had felt impossible began to feel possible. What had felt extraordinary began to feel ordinary. What had felt unnatural began to feel natural. The transformation in his actual business was remarkable. As his consciousness of being a major company owner became natural, his decisions changed, his behavior changed, his very presence changed. He began to naturally act in ways that someone running a major company would act. Within 18 months, his small company had grown into exactly the major enterprise he had been imagining. But by that time, it felt completely natural to him. He told me, "The strange thing is, I can barely remember when running a large company felt unusual. Now it just feels like who I am." This is the power of naturalness. When something feels natural to you in consciousness, it must manifest in your world, because consciousness is the only reality. But I must warn you about something that trips up many students. They try to force naturalness. They try to convince themselves that something feels natural when it doesn't. This doesn't work because consciousness cannot be fooled. True naturalness isn't an act you put on. It's a genuine feeling that develops through persistent imagining. You can't fake it, but you can cultivate it. Here's the key. You cultivate naturalness by removing the charge from your desire. Most people charge their desires with desperation, need, hope, excitement, or fear. All of these emotional charges keep the desire at arm's length, marking it as something special, something other, something not yet possessed. To remove the charge, you must imagine your desire so consistently that it becomes mundane. Imagine it until the thrill wears off. Imagine it until it's no longer exciting. Imagine it until it's just normal. Think about something you have that you once desperately wanted. Perhaps your current home, or your car, or your relationship, or your job. Remember how exciting it was when you first got it. Remember how you couldn't believe it was yours. Remember how special it felt. And now it's just your home, your car, your relationship, your job. It's familiar. It's normal. You don't wake up every morning marveling that you have it. It's simply part of your life. That's naturalness. And that's the feeling you want to cultivate about your desires before they manifest physically. A woman once told me about her experience manifesting marriage to a specific man. For months, she said, I imagined our wedding day. I felt the excitement, the joy, the thrill of finally being his wife. But nothing happened. He seemed no closer to proposing than when I started. Then one night, she continued, I was exhausted from imagining. I lay in bed, and almost without thinking, I imagined us in bed together, not on our honeymoon, but years into our marriage. I imagined it being so ordinary, so familiar, that I barely noticed it. I fell asleep from the sheer ordinariness of it. The next morning, something had shifted in me. When I saw him, I didn't feel the desperate hope I usually felt. I felt calm, natural, as if we were already married, and this was just another day. Within 2 weeks, he proposed. Within 3 months, we were married. But here's the interesting part, she concluded. By the time we actually got married, it didn't feel like a big event to me emotionally. It felt right, natural, inevitable, like something that had already happened long ago and we were just making it official. This is the ultimate sign that you've achieved naturalness. When your desire manifests, it feels obvious rather than miraculous. Now let me share with you a technique I've used successfully many times. I call it the boring technique, though there's nothing boring about its results. Choose your desire, whatever it is you want to manifest. Now instead of imagining the exciting moment of getting it, imagine the most ordinary, mundane moment of having it. Imagine the boring, routine, everyday experience of living with your desire fulfilled. If you want wealth, don't imagine winning the lottery or receiving a windfall. Imagine casually paying a bill, glancing at your bank balance without concern, or making a routine purchase without checking the price. If you want love, don't imagine the first kiss or the proposal. Imagine a quiet Tuesday evening, doing something ordinary together, feeling the comfortable familiarity of being loved. If you want success, don't imagine the award ceremony or the moment of recognition. Imagine a regular workday, doing what you love, it being perfectly normal and expected. The more ordinary, the more mundane, the more boring your imaginal act, the more powerful it is. Because ordinariness equals naturalness, and naturalness equals manifestation. I remember when I was manifesting my teaching career, I didn't imagine standing before large crowds receiving thunderous applause. Instead, I imagined sitting in a quiet room, preparing for a lecture the way a teacher who had been teaching for years would prepare, routinely, naturally, without drama. I imagined answering letters from students. I imagined the ordinary work of teaching. I imagined it until it felt completely natural, until it would have felt strange not to be teaching. By the time I actually stood before my first audience, it felt like I had been doing it for years. There was no nervousness, no sense of impossibility, no feeling that I was doing something extraordinary. It felt natural, and because it felt natural, it unfolded naturally. Here's another crucial aspect of naturalness that many overlook. Naturalness extends to how you relate to waiting. When something is natural to you, You don't anxiously wait for it. You don't desperately check for signs of it. You don't worry about when it will appear. Think about something you know will naturally occur. Perhaps you know the sun will rise tomorrow, or you know spring will follow winter, or you know you'll be hungry at mealtime. Do you anxiously wait for these things? Do you worry they might not happen? No, because they're natural to you. This is how you must relate to your desire, not anxiously waiting for it to arrive, but naturally knowing it will manifest because it's already yours in consciousness. A gentleman once asked me, "But Neville, how can I feel natural about something that hasn't happened yet? Doesn't that require denial of current reality?" I replied, "You're thinking of naturalness as a relationship with physical circumstances. But true naturalness is a relationship with consciousness. In consciousness, your desire is already fulfilled. Making that fulfillment feel natural in consciousness is not denial, it's recognition of the only reality that exists. Think of it this way," I continued. Before you learned to read, reading felt unnatural, impossible. But someone who could read knew it was natural. The naturalness wasn't about current ability, it was about consciousness. Now that you can read, reading feels utterly natural. Has reading itself changed? No. Your consciousness of reading has changed. Your desire is the same, I concluded. It doesn't feel natural now because your consciousness of it is still treating it as special, future, other. But in consciousness, it can be natural right now. And once it's natural in consciousness, it must become natural in experience. Let me share one final story that illustrates the ultimate power of naturalness. Years ago, I knew a woman who wanted to move from a small apartment to a beautiful house by the ocean. Her current circumstances made this seem impossible. She had modest income, no savings for a down payment, and housing by the ocean was extremely expensive in her area. Most people would have imagined winning the lottery, receiving an inheritance, or some other dramatic intervention. But this woman understood naturalness. Instead, she began to imagine the most ordinary moment she could think of in her oceanside home, making coffee in the morning and glancing out at the water. That's all. No drama, no excitement. Just making coffee, glancing at the ocean, it being perfectly normal and natural that she lived there. She imagined this scene every morning for months. She told me it became so familiar that sometimes she'd wake up and for a brief moment expect to see the ocean before remembering she was still in her apartment. Within a year, through a series of events that seemed remarkable to others, but felt natural to her, she was living in that house by the ocean. And when she invited me to visit, I watched her make coffee and glance at the ocean with such casual familiarity that you'd think she'd been doing it for 20 years. The strange thing, she told me, is that I can't remember when this felt unusual. It just feels like where I've always belonged. That, my friends, is the power of naturalness. When your desire becomes so natural in consciousness that it would feel strange not to have it, that's when it manifests. Not before, not through force or effort, but through the irresistible power of naturalness itself. So tonight I invite you to examine your desires. Which ones are you holding at arm's length with excitement, hope, or desperation? Which ones are you treating as special, extraordinary, miraculous? Those are the ones you need to make natural. Those are the ones you need to imagine not as future possibilities, but as present realities. Those are the ones you need to strip of their charge and their drama and their specialness. Make them boring. Make them ordinary. Make them natural. Imagine them until they feel so familiar that it would be strange not to have them. When naturalness becomes your dwelling place, manifestation becomes your inevitable experience. Not through struggle, not through effort, not through hope or prayer, but through the simple, natural, inevitable unfolding of consciousness into form. The feeling of naturalness, this is the secret. Cultivate it, dwell in it, make it your home. And watch as everything you desire becomes not a miracle, but simply the natural expression of who you are. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and you are the operant power in your world. I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight we are going to go deeper than we have ever gone before into the one thing that determines whether your desire manifests or remains forever a fantasy. Tonight I am going to take you into the very heart of manifestation itself. Tonight you are going to truly understand for the first time what it means to feel. You have heard it 1,000 times. Feeling is the secret. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Every teacher says it. Every book repeats it. And yet most of you still do not know what this means. You think you do. You believe you are doing it, but you are not. And that is why your desires remain unfulfilled. Tonight that changes. Tonight I am going to show you what feeling actually is, what it is not, and how to master it so completely that manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let me start by showing you what you are doing wrong. And I know you are doing it wrong because if you were doing it right, you would already have everything you desire. So let me show you the mistake nearly everyone makes. When I tell you to feel your desire fulfilled, what do? You try to generate an emotion. You try to feel happy. You try to feel excited. You try to feel grateful. You sit there and you work yourself up into an emotional state. And you think, yes, I am feeling it. I am so happy. I am so excited. And you do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day feeling quite proud of yourself for doing the work. And nothing manifests. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and you wonder, but I felt it. I felt so happy when I imagined having my desire. Why is it not here? I will tell you why. Because you were feeling the wrong thing. Happiness is not the feeling. Excitement is not the feeling. Gratitude, joy, relief, peace. None of these emotions are the feeling. These are the effects of the feeling. But they are not the feeling itself. Let me give you an aha moment right now. Stop everything you think you know and listen carefully. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. Let that sink in. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. When I say assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I do not mean feel happy about your wish being fulfilled. I mean feel yourself to be the person who has your wish fulfilled. Do you see the difference? One is an emotion. The other is an identity. One is a temporary state you can conjure up and then lose 5 minutes later. The other is a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. Now let me go deeper. Let me show you what this feeling truly is, because until you understand this, you cannot master it. The feeling is the inner knowing that you are something. It is the silent, wordless conviction of being. Think about how you feel yourself to be human right now. Not the emotion of being human. The sense of being human. It is not something you have to convince yourself of. It is not something you try to feel. It is simply what you are. You are human. This is not a hope. This is not a belief. This is a knowing so deep, so automatic, so natural that you never question it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I feel happy imagining I am wealthy. But I am wealthy, not the emotion of wealth, the being of wealth, the identity of wealth, the naturalness of wealth. Let me show you how this works in your current reality. Right now, you feel yourself to be a certain kind of person. Perhaps you feel yourself to be someone who struggles with money. This is not an emotion. You do not wake up every morning and feel sad about money. The feeling is deeper than that. It is the silent assumption running beneath all your thoughts. I am someone who struggles with money. This is your sense of being regarding money. And because you feel yourself to be this, because this is your inner knowing, your world reflects it perfectly. Circumstances arise that match this feeling. Bills come. Expenses appear. Opportunities slip away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your world must reflect the person you feel yourself to be. When you want to manifest wealth, you cannot simply feel happy about the idea of being wealthy while continuing to feel yourself to be someone who struggles. The happy feeling is temporary. It fades, but the deep feeling of being that persists. And the persistent feeling is what creates. So the question is not, did I feel happy when I visualized? The question is, who do I feel myself to be? Let me take you even deeper now. There are two levels of feeling, and you must understand both. The first level is what I call surface feeling. This is emotion, happiness, excitement, gratitude, relief. These are real. These are valid. These can be part of the experience. But they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the house, not the house itself. The second level is what I call foundational feeling. This is identity. This is being. This is the deep, silent knowing of what you are. And this is what creates your reality. Most of you are working only with surface feeling. You generate emotions during your practice and think you have done the work. But the moment you stop focusing, the emotion fades and you return to your foundational feeling, which has not changed at all. You still feel yourself to be the person who does not have, who is waiting, who is hoping. And so nothing changes in your outer world because nothing changed in your inner being. But when you shift the foundational feeling, when you change who you feel yourself to be at the deepest level, everything in your outer world must shift to match. This is law. This is absolute. This cannot fail. So how do you shift foundational feeling? How do you change not just what you feel about something, but who you feel yourself to be? That is what I am going to teach you now. The secret to mastering feeling is understanding that feeling is not something you do. Feeling is something you are. You do not do being human. You are human. You do not do having hands. You have hands. The having is natural, automatic, assumed. There is no effort in it. This is what you must achieve with your desire. Not doing the feeling of having it, but being the person who has it. And the difference between doing and being is everything. Let me show you how to move from doing to being. Right now, I want you to think about something you already have. Something simple. Perhaps you have a bed. Perhaps you have a favorite cup. Perhaps you have a particular item of clothing you love. Choose something you have without question. Now, how do you feel about having this thing? Notice that you do not have to generate a feeling. You do not have to convince yourself you have it. You do not have to visualize having it. You simply know you have it. This knowing is so natural, so assumed, so automatic that you never think about it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I am trying to feel like I have wealth, but I have wealth. The knowing is simple, natural, assumed. It requires no effort. It is just what is. But how do you get to this place of natural knowing when your current circumstances scream the opposite? How do you feel yourself to be wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel yourself to be loved when you sleep alone? How do you feel yourself to be healthy when your body is sick? This is where most people give up. They say, but Neville, I cannot feel wealthy when I have no money. I cannot feel loved when I am alone. The circumstances contradict the feeling. And this is where I must wake you up to the truth. The circumstances do not create the feeling. The feeling creates the circumstances. You think you will feel wealthy when you have money. But you will have money when you feel wealthy. You think you will feel loved when someone loves you. But someone will love you when you feel loved. You think you will feel healthy when your body heals. But your body will heal when you feel healthy. The feeling must come first, always. And the feeling is not dependent on circumstances. The feeling is dependent only on your imagination. Now let me teach you how to actually enter the feeling. How to shift from the person you have been feeling yourself to be to the person you desire to feel yourself to be. This is not about emotion. This is not about trying. This is about a gentle shift in awareness, a subtle turning of attention that changes everything. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to feel who you are right now, not think about who you are. Feel who you are. Notice the silent sense of self that exists beneath all your thoughts. This is you. This is your current sense of being. Now I want you to notice something. This sense of self, this feeling of being who you are, it is not solid, it is not fixed. It is actually quite fluid. You can shift it simply by shifting your awareness. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely different than you do now. Perhaps a time when you felt confident, powerful, certain. For just a moment, remember that version of you, not the circumstances of that time, but the sense of self, the feeling of being that person. Do you notice that just by remembering, just by turning your attention to that version of you, something shifts? You feel different. Not dramatically, not with great emotion, but there is a subtle shift in your sense of being. This is what I want you to understand. You can shift who you feel yourself to be simply by shifting your attention. And when you shift who you feel yourself to be, you shift what you create. So here is the practice. When you want to manifest something, do not try to generate emotion about having it. Instead, gently shift your awareness to being the person who has it. How do you do this? You imagine. But not in the way you have been imagining. Not creating a scene and watching yourself in it, but stepping into the scene and being yourself in it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most of you would visualize money. Perhaps see yourself looking at a bank statement. Maybe imagine yourself buying something expensive. And you would try to feel excited or happy or grateful about this. But this is external. You are watching yourself have wealth. You are feeling emotions about the idea of wealth. But you are not being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine being the wealthy version of you, not doing wealthy things, being the wealthy person. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how does a wealthy person feel about themselves? Not about their money, about themselves. What is their sense of self? What is their internal state? A wealthy person feels secure, not because they have money, but as a fundamental sense of self. Security is who they are. A wealthy person feels free. They feel relaxed. They feel like they have options. They feel like they are enough. They feel valuable. They feel worthy. These are not emotions. These are states of being. And you can enter these states right now without a single dollar in your bank account, simply by shifting your awareness. Try it now. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am secure. I am free. I have options. I am valuable. I am worthy. Not as affirmations you are trying to believe, but as a gentle recognition of a version of you that already exists in imagination. Feel how this version of you moves through the world. Feel how this version of you thinks about money. Feel how this version of you makes decisions. Feel how this version of you speaks to others. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply being this version of you. And the more you practice being this version, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your outer world shifts to match who you are being. Let me show you the crucial difference between trying to feel and actually feeling, because this is where most people get stuck. When you try to feel, there is effort, there is reaching, there is a sense of, I do not have this yet, but I am trying to convince myself I do. This effort itself is the problem, because effort implies lack. You only try to feel what you do not already feel. You only try to be what you are not already being. But when you simply are, there is no effort. There is just a gentle resting in the state. It is like when you sit in a chair. You do not try to sit. You do not convince yourself you are sitting. You simply sit. And the sitting is natural, easy, effortless. This is how feeling your desire fulfilled should be. Natural, easy, effortless. You are simply resting in the state of being the person who has your desire. Here is how you know you are trying versus being. If there is strain, you are trying. If there is peace, you are being. If you are working hard to maintain the feeling, you are trying. If the feeling is simply there, quiet and natural, you are being. Most of you are exhausting yourselves trying to feel. And then you wonder why the feeling does not last. It does not last because you are treating it like a doing instead of a being. You are treating it like an activity you must perform, instead of a state you simply inhabit. Now let me give you another aha moment. You cannot lose a state of being. You can only step out of it. The state is always there. You are simply choosing which state to inhabit with your awareness. Right now, infinite states exist. The state of being wealthy exists. The state of being loved exists. The state of being healthy exists. They are not somewhere in the future. They are here now in consciousness. And you can step into any of them simply by turning your awareness to them. When you lose the feeling, you have not actually lost anything. You have simply shifted your awareness back to the old state. The new state is still there. You have just stopped being it. So mastering the feeling is not about holding on to something. It is about learning to continuously return your awareness to the state you wish to inhabit, over and over, gently, naturally, until being in that state becomes more natural than being in the old state. Now let me give you the test that tells you whether you have truly mastered the feeling or whether you are still just playing with surface emotions. The test is this. Does it feel natural? When you think about your desire, does it feel natural to have it? Not exciting, not thrilling, natural. Like of course you have it. Like it is simply what is. Think about the things you already have. They feel natural. You do not get excited thinking about them. You do not need to convince yourself you have them. You simply know you have them. And the knowing is quiet, calm, natural. This is what your desire must feel like. Not, oh my God, I am so excited, I have this. But of course I have this. This is just how things are. When the desire feels natural, you have mastered the feeling. When it still feels exciting or unbelievable, you are still working with surface emotion, not foundational being. Here is another test. Can you forget about it? Not in the sense of giving up on it, but in the sense of not needing to constantly think about it, or check for it, or monitor it. Things you truly have you can forget about. You do not spend all day thinking about your bed or your shoes or your name. You have them. They are yours. You can forget about them and go about your life. But things you are trying to manifest, you cannot forget about. You obsess over them. You check for them. You wonder when they will arrive. This constant checking is proof that you have not truly felt yourself to be the person who has them. Because the person who has them does not check. They already know. So when you can think about your desire with the same casual naturalness that you think about anything else you possess, you have mastered the feeling. When you can go hours or days without obsessing over whether it is coming, you have mastered the feeling. When the having of it feels so natural that you sometimes forget you once did not have it, you have mastered the feeling. Now let me give you a specific technique for developing this natural feeling, for moving from trying to being, for saturating yourself so completely in the state that it becomes your new normal. I call this saturation because you are going to saturate your consciousness with the state of being the person who has your desire, until that state becomes as natural as breathing. Here is how you do it. You are going to spend one full day, just one day to start, being the person who has your desire, not visualizing about having it, not hoping you will have it, being the person who has it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are going to move through your day as this person. You are going to think their thoughts. You are going to make their decisions. You are going to respond to situations as they would respond. You are going to inhabit their state of being completely. This does not mean you pretend you see money in your account when you do not. This does not mean you act as if externally. This means you feel yourself to be internally the person who has what you desire, and you let that internal state inform how you move through your day. Let me show you how this works practically. Suppose you desire wealth. For one day, you are going to feel yourself to be a wealthy person, not someone trying to become wealthy, not someone hoping to be wealthy, a wealthy person. When you wake up as a wealthy person. How does a wealthy person feel when they wake up? Probably secure, relaxed, free. Feel this. Not as an emotion you generate, but as a state you inhabit. You are a wealthy person. This is who you are today. When you go about your morning routine, you do so as a wealthy person. You shower as someone who has financial freedom. You dress as someone who feels valuable and worthy. You eat breakfast as someone who knows they have options and resources. Notice I am not saying pretend to be rich. I am saying be the person who feels wealthy. There is a difference. Being wealthy is an internal state. It is a sense of self. It is a feeling of security, freedom, worth. And you can feel this right now regardless of your bank account. Throughout your day, every decision you make it from this state. Every thought you think it from this person. Every interaction you have it as this version of you. And here is what will happen. At first it will feel strange. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Old thoughts will come. Old reactions will arise. But each time they do, you simply return to the state. You remind yourself, I am a wealthy person. This is who I am today. And you feel yourself to be that again. Do this for one full day. Not perfectly. You will slip dozens of times, but each time you slip, you return. Gently, without judgment. You just return to being the person, and something remarkable will happen. By the end of that day, the state will feel more natural. The being of it will feel more real. You will have moments where you forget you are practicing, and you simply are this person. This is saturation. You are saturating your consciousness with the new state. And the more you saturate, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more automatically you create from it. Do this for one day, then do it again the next day. Then again and again, until being this person feels more natural than being the old person. Until you are no longer returning to the state because you never left it. This is how you master the feeling. Not through intense visualization sessions, not through emotional manipulation, but through gentle, consistent saturation in the state of being what you desire to be. Let me bring everything together now. With the ultimate truth about feeling, the truth that, when fully understood, makes manifestation effortless. You are not trying to feel your desires fulfilled. You are feeling yourself to be the person whose desires fulfilled. These sound similar, but they are completely different. One is about the desire, the other is about you. One is external, the other is internal. One is temporary, the other is foundational. Your desire is just a reflection of who you feel yourself to be. Wealthy people have wealth, not because they are lucky, but because they feel themselves to be wealthy people. Loved people experience love, not because they found the right person, but because they feel themselves to be lovable. Successful people achieve success not because they worked harder, but because they feel themselves to be successful. So stop focusing on the desire. Start focusing on who you are being. Stop trying to feel like you have it. Start being the person who has it. And the having will follow automatically, inevitably, because the outer world must reflect the inner being. Tonight you have one assignment. Before you sleep, I want you to answer this question with brutal honesty. Who do I feel myself to be? Not who do you hope to be? Not who do you try to be? Who do you actually genuinely deeply feel yourself to be when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not performing or pretending? Write it down. Look at it. This is what you are creating. This is what your world is reflecting. Then ask yourself, who do I want to feel myself to be? Not what do I want to have? Who do I want to be? What kind of person has the life I desire? What is their sense of self? What is their foundational feeling? And then, starting tomorrow, you are going to practice being this person. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consciously, deliberately, persistently. You are going to shift your awareness to this version of you, and you are going to practice being them until being them feels more natural than being who you were. This is the work. This is the practice. This is mastering the feeling. The feeling is not emotion. The feeling is not excitement. The feeling is not trying. The feeling is being. You master the feeling by learning to be the person who has your desire, instead of trying to feel emotions about your desire. You master the feeling by saturating yourself in the state until it becomes natural. You master the feeling by changing your inner conversation until it matches the identity you wish to embody. You master the feeling by making it so natural that you forget you once did not have what you now have. Do this, and everything you desire must manifest. Not because you hoped hard enough, not because you visualized perfectly, but because you became the person to whom these things naturally belong. You are not waiting to have. You are learning to be. And being always precedes having. Master the feeling, and you master your reality. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to cut through all the confusion, all the complexity, all the mystical nonsense that surrounds the topic of money manifestation. I want to give you the pure, undiluted truth about how to manifest money and how to do it quickly. You've been lied to about money your entire life. You've been told that money requires hard work, sacrifice, and years of grinding effort. You've been told that wealth is for other people, the lucky ones, the connected ones, the talented ones. You've been told to be realistic about your financial expectations. But what if I told you that every single limitation you've accepted about money is nothing more than a belief you inherited from people who didn't understand how reality actually works? What if the reason you haven't manifested the wealth you desire has nothing to do with the economy, your education, your background, or your circumstances? The truth is this. You are living with the most sophisticated wealth creation technology ever designed, and it's been with you since the day you were born. It's your consciousness, your imagination, your ability to assume a state and make it real through the sheer power of persistent feeling. But most people never learn how to use this power. They treat their mind like a broken instrument, letting it play the same old songs of limitation. Money doesn't grow on trees. I can't afford it. Rich people are just lucky. These are not truths. These are permissions you've given reality to keep you poor. Tonight I'm going to teach you how to revoke those permissions. I'm going to show you that your current bank balance is not a fact about your future. It's simply a photograph of your past consciousness. And you can burn that photograph right now and begin creating a masterpiece. And here's what neuroscience now confirms about this difference in thinking. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine financial success with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain begins rewiring itself to match that vision. New neural pathways form. Old patterns dissolve. Your entire nervous system reorganizes around your new assumption. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't wishful fantasy. This is the precise mechanism through which consciousness creates physical reality. And once you understand how to use it deliberately, money can flow to you faster than you ever thought possible. When you imagine biting into a lemon, your mouth literally starts to water. When you imagine your financial success with enough detail and emotion, your brain begins rewiring itself to make that vision your reality. This isn't wishful thinking. But here's what most people don't understand. Belief isn't just a casual thought or fleeting wish. It's an unshakable conviction that something is not only possible, but already in the process of becoming your reality. When you truly believe, not hope, not wish, but believe that wealth is your natural state, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to match that belief. Think about this. Everything you see around you right now, the chair you're sitting in, the building you're in, all of it started as someone's belief. Someone believed it was possible before it existed in the physical world. Your wealth is no different. It exists first in your mind, then in your reality. Right now, you have an invisible thermostat in your mind that's set to your current income level. When opportunities arise to earn more, your internal thermostat kicks in with thoughts like, "This is too good to be true," or "I don't deserve this." It pulls you back to what feels familiar, even if familiar means struggling. But thermostats can be reset. I challenge you to do something radical. For the next 30 seconds, I want you to imagine that you're already living the financial life of your dreams. Don't think about how. Just imagine the feeling. Feel the weight lifted off your shoulders when bills arrive. Feel the confidence of knowing you can handle any financial emergency. Feel the joy of helping others because you have abundance to share. Did you feel that shift, that small flutter of excitement? That's your inner wealth recognizing itself. That feeling is more real than the numbers in your bank account right now. Your belief system is like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is weak, the house will crumble. If your belief in your ability to create wealth is shaky, your financial structure will always be unstable. But when you build an unshakable foundation of belief in your worthiness and capability, you can build any level of wealth on top of it. Learn to use the creative workshop of your mind. Your imagination is not just some frivolous fantasy machine. It's the most powerful creative workshop you possess. Every millionaire, every successful entrepreneur, every person who has ever created significant wealth started in the same place. Their imagination. But here's the key. They didn't just daydream. They created detailed, vivid mental movies of their success. They saw themselves counting specific amounts of money. They felt the texture of crisp bills in their hands. They heard the sounds of prosperity. The conversations with financial advisors. The discussions about investment opportunities. I want you to create your own mental movie right now. See yourself opening your bank statement and feeling pure joy at the numbers. Visualize yourself making a purchase without checking the price first. Picture yourself confidently discussing your latest business venture or investment. Make it so real that your body responds as if it's actually happening. The more detailed and emotionally charged your mental imagery becomes, the more your subconscious mind accepts it as real. And when your subconscious accepts something as real, it begins working around the clock to make it your physical reality. But don't just see the money. See the life it creates. Visualize the freedom to choose where you live based on desire, not necessity. See yourself traveling to places you've only dreamed of. Not because you saved for years, but because you can. Picture the confidence that comes with financial security. The way it changes how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you make decisions. Learn to live in the future you've just created. Here's where most people make a critical mistake. They think of their wealth as something that will happen someday. This keeps wealth perpetually in the future, always just out of reach. Instead, you must learn to live in the end result, to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now. Living in the end doesn't mean pretending or lying to yourself about your current circumstances. It means emotionally and mentally inhabiting the reality of already having what you desire. It's about making decisions from the mindset of someone who already has wealth, not someone who's desperately trying to get it. When you live in the end, you stop operating from lack and need. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You begin to embody the energy of wealth. And that energy becomes a magnet for financial opportunities. Your current circumstances, your job, your bank account, your bills. These are not your reality. They're temporary conditions based on your past thinking. Your true reality is what you're creating right now with your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Don't let temporary conditions dictate your permanent identity. I know this might sound abstract, so let me make it practical. If you are already wealthy, how would you carry yourself? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? What opportunities would you pursue? Start being that person now. Don't wait for the money to show up before you become the person who can handle it. You also need to speak the language of abundance. Words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you're casting a spell of limitation. Every time you say money is tight, you're commanding your reality to squeeze your finances. Your subconscious mind is always listening, and it takes your words as commands. It doesn't judge whether your words are beneficial or harmful. It simply works to make them true. This is why the language you use about money is so crucial. Starting today, I want you to change your language. Instead of I can't afford it, say how can I afford it? Instead of I'm broke, say I'm between fortunes. Instead of money is the root of all evil, say money is a tool for good in the right hands. Instead of rich people are greedy, say wealthy people have the resources to make a difference. But here's the secret that makes affirmations truly powerful. You must feel the truth of what you're saying. Don't just repeat words mechanically. When you affirm money flows to me easily and effortlessly, take a moment to feel what that would be like. When you declare I am financially abundant, connect with the emotion of abundance. Your words must carry the energy of conviction, not desperation. They should come from a place of knowing, not hoping. The universe responds to the energy behind your words, not just the words themselves. You must feel wealthy. Emotion is the fuel that powers manifestation. Without the emotional charge, your desires remain as dormant as seeds without water. When you visualize your wealth, you must feel the emotions that come with it. Feel the relief of financial security. Feel the excitement of unlimited possibilities. Feel the gratitude for abundance. Feel the confidence that comes with knowing you're financially free. These emotions aren't just byproducts of your visualization. They're the driving force that propels your desires into physical reality. The universe responds to your emotional frequency. When you consistently emit the frequency of wealth and abundance, you attract circumstances that match that frequency. Think about it this way. When you're truly excited about something, doesn't it seem like everything aligns to help it happen? When you're passionate and enthusiastic, don't people want to help you? Don't opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere? This is the power of emotional alignment. But here's the challenge. You must feel wealthy regardless of your current circumstances. You can't wait for your bank account to grow before you feel abundant. You must feel abundant first, and then watch as your external reality catches up to your internal state. This isn't about denial or fake it till you make it. This is about recognizing that your emotional state is a choice, and choosing the emotions that serve your highest vision for your life. Also, learn the strategic art of detachment. Here's a paradox that confuses many people. You must be intensely focused on your goal while simultaneously detached from how it will manifest. You must care deeply about the end result while not caring about the specific path to get there. Most people make the mistake of trying to micromanage their manifestation. They become attached to specific methods, timelines, and circumstances. But this attachment creates resistance and anxiety, which actually pushes away what they're trying to attract. True manifestation requires what I call strategic detachment. You hold your vision firmly in your mind. You feel the emotions of already having it. You take inspired action when it presents itself. But you don't try to control every detail of how it unfolds. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant it, water it, make sure it gets sunlight. But you don't dig it up every day to check on its progress. You trust the natural process of growth. Your financial goals work the same way. The universe has access to resources, connections, and opportunities that you don't even know exist. When you try to control exactly how your wealth will come to you, you limit yourself to only what you can imagine. But when you detach from the how and focus on the what and the why, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your current comprehension. This doesn't mean you become passive. Inspired action is still essential. But inspired action comes from a place of excitement and opportunity, not desperation and forcing. When you're truly aligned with your vision, the right actions will feel natural and energizing, not forced and exhausting. The next secret is to use gratitude as a multiplier. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for what you have. Strategic gratitude is about being thankful for what's coming. When you express genuine gratitude for the wealth that's on its way to you, you align yourself with the frequency of receiving. Start each day by saying thank you for the abundance that's flowing into my life today. Feel grateful for opportunities you haven't even discovered yet. Express appreciation for the financial breakthrough that's preparing itself for you. But don't just be grateful for money. Be grateful for your ability to create wealth. Be grateful for your imagination, your creativity, your unique talents and skills. Be grateful for the opportunities that exist in the world today that didn't exist even a few years ago. Be grateful for every small sign of abundance that shows up in your life. When you find a penny on the ground, when someone buys you coffee, when you receive an unexpected discount, acknowledge these as signs that the universe is conspiring to bring you abundance. This isn't delusion. This is preparation. You're preparing your mind to recognize and receive the wealth that's seeking you. Every morning, when you wake up, you have a choice. You can either spend your mental energy focusing on what you lack, or you can invest it in creating what you desire. This choice compounds over time. Imagine two people with identical circumstances. One spends their mental energy worrying about bills, complaining about their situation, and feeling envious of others' success. The other spends their mental energy visualizing their success, planning their moves, and maintaining unwavering faith in their ability to create wealth. After 1 year, these two people will be living completely different realities. Not because of luck, but because of the compound effect of their daily mental choices. Now let's talk about the power of inspired action. Here's where many people get confused. They think manifestation means sitting around waiting for money to fall from the sky. That's not how this works. Manifestation is about aligning your inner world with your desires and then taking inspired action from that aligned state. When you're truly aligned with wealth consciousness, you'll find yourself having conversations you wouldn't normally have, noticing opportunities that were always there but invisible to your scarcity mindset, feeling compelled to learn new skills or explore new ventures, making connections with people who can help accelerate your success, taking risks that your old self would have been too afraid to take. This is inspired action. Action that comes from alignment, not desperation. It feels energizing rather than exhausting, exciting rather than fearful, natural rather than forced. But here's the key. You must be willing to act when inspiration strikes. The universe is constantly sending you signs, opportunities, and impulses toward your wealth. But if you ignore them or make excuses, they'll stop coming. Pay attention to your intuition. When you get an idea for a business, a sudden urge to call someone, or an impulse to attend an event, follow it. These seemingly random impulses might be the universe's way of guiding you toward your financial breakthrough. Here's the final truth I want to leave you with. You already have everything you need to become wealthy. You have a mind that can imagine. You have emotions that can fuel your dreams. You have the ability to speak your desires into existence. You have the power to take action toward your goals. The only thing standing between you and the wealth you desire is your willingness to claim it. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel more worthy. Now. Your abundance is waiting. Go claim it. The answer to whether you're ready will determine everything that happens next in your financial life. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. You have everything within you right now to create the wealthy life you desire. Trust the process. Take aligned action and watch as your reality transforms to match your vision. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.